All right, so now we are going to prepare our wardrobes and start baking the animations into our meshes. So we can come up here to our little Overcrowd icon here, and that will bring up our wardrobe editor. And the first thing we want to do is to create a new wardrobe, and we're going to create two wardrobes because we want a separate wardrobe for the guys who have weapons and shields and the guys with just weapons. And that's because the guys with weapon and shields have a whole separate, a whole different animation set to the guys who don't have shields. And so the easiest way to sort of make sure everything looks right is to do a separate wardrobe for each. All right, great. So let's come over here and click the little white wardrobe button, and we'll go and add a new array element, and we'll go down to the drop down, come down to Overcrowd here. And if we expand this wardrobe drop down, let's come over here to this little button here, and we're going to add a new subtag to that. And we will call this weapon and shield. Great. And so we'll make sure to select that any and go to add new tag. Great. And go ahead and select that. Awesome. And while we're here, let's just go ahead and add our other wardrobe to the array wardrobe, and let's go to add subtag, and we'll just do weapon only. And we'll go to any and add new tag, and go ahead and select that. Great. And hit apply, and now we can go ahead and close that. And now you can come here to the selected wardrobe, and you can pick which wardrobe you want to work on. So we'll do weapon and shield. Awesome. All right, and now we can start adding the meshes that we've prepared to our wardrobe. And we do that by going over to this little green coat hanger here, and that brings up our VAT mesh picker, and I'll make that bigger, and you can see all of the parts of the wardrobe that we have prepared. All of that hard work is on display right here. So we can actually select all of these and add them to the wardrobe. So let's start selecting. Just hold down Control and click. And why don't we just start with these actually? I'll add the body as well. And we're just going to start with these because when you bake a ton of animations, into a ton of meshes, it can go, it can get a little heavy. So, this is kind of a good practice to just start with a few, and just kind of make sure everything is working, and you can kind of bake and save incrementally. So why don't we go ahead and get some of the weapon and shield animation set into the animation array over here. So let's come over to our content browser, and we'll go to our animations, and we'll expand these, and let's see, we want the meta 5.6 animations. And if we scroll down here, we can see that we have all of our weapon and shield animations down at the end here. So now that we have that open, let's come back to our window up here, and we'll add the reference skeleton in a second. And just to reiterate here, I should have said this in the the overview at the beginning, but this skeleton needs to be the same. It has to be the same reference skeleton for all of these meshes. Okay, so like your head mesh has to, even though it's a sort of separate mesh with its own, facial animation going on, that has to be attached to, the same kind of skeleton as these, or it won't work. You'll get weird, mismatched animations and misaligned meshes. All right, so let's start by adding some animation sources. So we'll go over here and click that. We'll go and add an array element, and let's just start with weapon and shield cheer. We'll grab that animation there, and we can pull that into the animation sequence here. And now that we've done that, we want to give it an animation tag. So this one was weapon and shield cheer. So we want to come down here and go to Overcrowd, animation, and we're going to make a new sub tag, and we're going to call this cheer. And let's make sure to select our ini there and add the new tag. And once that pops up, just click that. All right, and that looks good. And let's go ahead and add some walking. And let's go ahead and add some charging as well, some running. Okay, so let's go and take a look at what we have here and expand that. All right, we've got our heads, we've got some torso pieces, as well as a body mesh. And then we have all four of these animations. We've got a cheering, we've got an idle, a walking, and a running, and they've all been tagged appropriately. All right, so now the last thing we want to do is make sure we have our animation reference skeleton. And, we can just take the skeletal mesh of this body here. So I'm going to click this little skeleton here, and this will browse to the skeletal mesh. And we can just assign that to the reference. And let's go ahead and bake all of these in. So before we do that, let's make sure we save. It's always good to save before you do a big bake like this. So let's do that. Great. And we'll just come right back here. And what we do is we click this little film reel button, and that will bake all of these animations into these meshes. So go ahead and click that. Okay, and as I mentioned, that baking process can take a while depending on how many meshes you have in your wardrobe, how many animations you have over here, and of course the specs of your machine. It can also just take a few seconds as well. Anyway, now that that's done, why don't we go and test out our crowd really quick. Let's spawn it in and see how everything is working. And so I'm going to pull this over to the side here. Before we go any further, let's make sure we save everything. Let's do a big save all, and you'll see there's a bunch of new assets that need to be saved here. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's get a crowd spawned in. I'm going to come up here to this populate scene menu here. I'm going to grab a populate scene box. That's just what I prefer to kind of test the crowd out. And I'm going to look where I want the crowd to be spawned, and it's going to do a raycast out from the center of my screen, and it will spawn it wherever the screen is looking. So you do that by pushing this spawn populate scene actor, and boom, there we go. Okay, what do we have going on here? It looks like we've got a couple clothing items that I did not do all of their materials, and that's fine. It's good to kind of test your wardrobe incrementally like this and just kind of see, how everything is working. And okay, so we missed a material in here. We missed there's a couple. Quite a few that are missing materials. So we can fix that really easily. Let's pull up our Overcrowd menu here. And my guess is there's just like one or two other parent materials that are missing the Overcrowd nodes. So let's see, this blue one here, let's browse to that and make sure we get the nodes in those materials. So we can do that by, in our wardrobe over here, we can click on these little convenience buttons, and that will bring up, that'll browse directly to certain assets. So in this case, we can use this. This will find the VAT mesh that we generated. This one will find the skeletal mesh, and this one will find the static mesh. So why don't we jump to the skeletal mesh here, and I'm just going to go ahead and open that up. And let's take a look at this material here. I'm going to right-click, find parent, right-click. Okay, yeah, so I think this is a different one than we did before. So let's go ahead and open this up, and let's get those nodes pasted in. Okay, there we go. And let's just put those in there and apply. And we can go ahead and close that. And let's take a look and see how the crowd is looking now. We do need to rebake in order to see those changes. So let's come up here and let's do that really quick. Okay, awesome. So that one seems to be working just fine, and we're still missing some other ones. So let's take care of those really quickly as well. And as you can see, I'm just doing the exact same process. I'm browsing to the skeletal meshes that aren't moving, finding their parent materials, pasting the nodes in, and rebaking to see if they're moving again. Okay, so now that's looking pretty good. It looks like we have all of the added items working, and so now we can go ahead and just add the other items for this wardrobe, which will include some pants, some shoes, and the helm, which we've already generated the LODs for, as well as created the VAT mesh pairings for. So why don't we go ahead and get those added to our wardrobe up here. We can just go ahead, open the wardrobe back up, and we can come back up to our Add to Wardrobe button. And let's see here. Let's grab all of these pants and all of these shoes. And we'll just go ahead and grab all of these helmets as well. So I'm just clicking through. I'm holding down Control and selecting. Oh yeah, and we'll grab all the gloves as well that we've added. Man, there are a lot of helmets. It's a great pack. Lots of assets. All right, grabbing all these gloves as well. And I think that should do it. Just go ahead and hit OK. And we can go ahead and bake these to our animations. All right, that's all done. So let's take a look. Okay, and now what we want to do to get all of the new items that we've just baked, we want to get them to show up with our crowd. We want to come up here and hit this repopulate and refresh overcrowd actors in scene. So let's hit that, and you'll see some shaders are still compiling. And let's see, what do we got here? Okay, we got a bunch of dudes wearing armor. We got some, looks like we have one more material here. A sort of fur material that we need to add some nodes to. And this guy's ears are sticking out. So in this case, the reason his ears are sticking out is because I made a mistake in the when I was setting up the metahuman and I was resizing his head. But I'll explain that and fix that in a little bit. Don't worry about that right now. For now, I want to just kind of keep moving forward and getting the rest of this wardrobe all set up, and we'll get these materials figured out really quickly. So why don't we just take care of that really quick? I'll speed up through this. All right, great. Looks like we got the fur fixed, and there you can see it's attached to his gauntlet there. After you go and you modify your materials, and if it doesn't show up and start working properly, even after you refresh, you can always rebake everything, and that was what got the fur working for me once I had added the nodes in there. Great. All right. So really quickly, I'm just pointing out that I went back and resized Bruce's head. If you followed the original MetaHuman tutorial, you would have seen that I scaled the head down from 1 to 0.9. And when I originally did this tutorial, I forgot to scale it down to 0.9. And that's why you were seeing Bruce's head kind of poking out through the helmet. So yeah, I went back and just fixed that. So that's why it will fit for the tutorial moving forward.